Hello, this is WBA Executive Director Brad Boyks coming to you today with another edition of the Blueprint. First, wanted to start off with a reminder that there will be a new code for 1 and 2 family homes on the electrical side that will go into effect on January 1st of the following year of 2020. This did have a delayed effective date. The commercial code on the electrical side has been in effect for a while now. There was a built-in delay for the 1 and 2 family, and that will come into play and be the code for 1 and 2 family homes as of January 1st of 2020. Just a quick reminder, we did have Charlie Johansson, longtime member from Hayward, who served on the DSPS advisory committee to make those recommendations. All in all, fairly vanilla changes to the code, a few things that were in there that we didn't like, a lot of just basic cleanup that was contained in there. As an attachment to this email is a summary provided by the Department of Safety and Professional Services that mentions some of the highlights of that code. Anybody you're working with on the electrical side has been trained on these changes and should be ready to roll for homes built in the new year. So again, click that link for a list of highlights, and those will be contained in the code that will go into effect on January 1st. We've been talking a lot about workforce housing. It's an issue that gets a lot of attention in the media. We are trying to get a proposal up and running here in early January, working with Representative Rob Brooks and Senator Dan Fine on a number of changes that would include hopefully some expansion to current TIF law that would allow more flexibility for 1 and 2 family workforce housing within the confines of TIF, hopefully to make that more available and a better tool to be used for workforce housing on the 1 and 2 family side. Also looking for incentives for local units of government to reduce fees and to encourage smaller lots and also to encourage small multifamily units to be built and to cut through some of the bureaucratic red tape involved in getting permits to have this type of housing in communities across the state. Also looking at some levy limit flexibility for those municipalities that encourage the construction of 1 and 2 family homes, especially smaller workforce housing in their area. Again, working hard. We've been working on a draft to address these issues. Hope to have that up and released in early January, trying to get as many members of both parties as co-sponsors, and then see what we can do about passing that before the session likely concludes, likely in March. Recently, there was the December edition of the Marquette Law School poll was introduced, or was released, I should say. It did show that the number of those folks in favor of impeachment hadn't changed in the state of Wisconsin. Right now, with the December results, looks like 40% of those polled were in favor of moving forward with impeachment, 52 opposed. Again, those numbers not that changed from that poll that was done in November. President Trump is ahead of all his likely competitors. The closest in the polling available in the Marquette Law School poll had Senator Elizabeth Warren, the closest at 44%, with President Trump coming in at 45%. Former Vice President Joe Biden had the largest percentage among Democrat voters with 23%, followed by Sanders at 19% and Senator Warren at 16%. On the state side of things, Governor Evers' numbers bounced back a little bit from November. At November, his approval rating was at 47%. In December, it was ticked up to that 50% level in the December results. If you'd like more information or like to do a deep dive on data related to polling, that link is also contained in this email as well. Just a reminder, if you have not heard, NAHB has launched fairly recently a podcast, the NAHB Podcast, the Housing Development Podcast, which has hosts NAHB CEO Jerry Howard and NAHB Chief Lobbyist Jim Tobit, covering topics that include housing affordability, housing economics, workforce development issues, and the state of the residential construction industry. So also at the end of this email, there is a link to access those podcasts. They can also be searched on any of the platforms that you currently get your podcast offerings. Really some good information contained there and a new outlet from NAHB as well. So also just a look towards 2020, we are putting together a year in review document that we will be sending out to all members, kind of highlighting some of the things that we've worked on as your state association in 2019. So keep an eye out for that in early 2020. Also want to take the opportunity to thank each and every one of you for your membership with the Wisconsin Builders Association through your local association and the National Association of Home Builders in 2019. Hopefully we will have another great year in 2020. And also want to take the opportunity to wish you all a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you and your family. Thank you, and we'll touch base again in early 2020.